So, if you're a real estate agent and you're thinking about pursuing or jumping into the internet lead pool, I want to just warn you, you should watch this before you spend a cent on internet leads. Okay. This is not some bullshit. I've been doing real estate for over 10 years and I've spent almost $1 million on internet lead generation. And I have so much data around this. That's not even funny. So I want to actually dispel all that information to you before you spend any freaking money. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about four things before you get started. Okay. The first thing is runway. You have enough runway. Do you have enough money actually last before you actually get paid? So that's the number one thing. Okay. Number two is the average date to close. You have to understand how long is it going to take for you to get paid. Okay. In Canada, it tends to be shorter. I've talked to some of my friends in the States. They tell me that it takes a lot longer to actually make a living. So be careful with that. Okay. There should be a minimum revenue per deal that in your area, if you're making $2,000 a deal or $5,000 a deal, you should probably not do it. For me, the minimum is $8,000 at least. If you're making $8,000 per buyer side or per seller side, you should not even start. Okay. And the last thing is, are you able to get referrals out of these people? Okay. Are you able to do any referrals out of the internet leads that you close? So I'm going to tell you how this whole why I wanted to do this video. So I had somebody approach me the other day and they're like, hey man, we have these internet leads, we have this, we have that. I'm like, okay, how much do you charge? And they're like $1,500. I'm like, for what? He's like, management. And you got to pay this other money, which is equivalent to about $500 a month for their software. And plus, they wanted you to spend about $1,000 a month on, the actual ads. So, like, if you're on Facebook, if you are on Google, if wherever you are, to pay for those things. And to me, I was like, dude, that doesn't make the math doesn't add up. And he's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I'm like, if I pay you $3,000 a month, I got to do that for 3 months. Even if the first day I get lucky and somehow I generate a deal out of it. If that's person on the first day, they call me like, hey honey, let's go buy real estate. Well, I'm not getting paid for 3 months. So by the time I get paid, I would have paid you $9,000 or between you, Facebook, Google, whatever. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, that sucks. And now I gotta wait. And then by the time I get paid, which is in 4 months, let's say the second month, whatever something happens, well, I would have paid you another time. It just didn't make sense. The math didn't add up. Okay. For me, I realized like how come it works for me? And I kind of realized there's a formula. Okay. So before you get started, I'm going to share with a couple of ideas with you. The first thing is 50% of the leads that you generate will be complete garbage. They're going to have a realtor, they're just looky-loos. They're building their dream home or their dream board or something, a visual board. Some of them are realtors, believe it or not. Other people are actually looking at what the neighbor's house sold for. This happens every freaking day. And it used to kill me literally inside whenever I used to get a lead and I'd call and they're like, oh yeah, I have a realtor. And I was just like, why would you register on my website if you have a realtor? So silly. Whatever. And what we realized also that 50% of the people are complete garbage. 5% of the 50, 5%, so about two deals. Let's say you generate 100 deals, about two deals will buy within 90 days. It doesn't mean they're going to buy with you, but they're buying within 90 days. So you're going to focus on finding the two people, hopefully make them love you that they're going to be working with you. Okay. 85% of the remainder of the 50%, let's say you generate 100 leads, 50 of them are garbage, you have 50 left. Two of them will buy. Now there's about 85% of them will actually buy between 6 months and 18 months. Okay. And then 10%, what we found is we'll buy over 24 months. So I just recently, I don't know how this happened. I usually don't do very good with these long-term leads, but recently we closed like three deals that were registered 5 years ago. No bullshit. Okay. So I mind you, they were really good paychecks. So one of them was 18,000, the other one was 8,000. So, definitely worth the working of the leads, but definitely took a long time. Okay. So it's really, 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 really be careful how that happens. Another fact, which is I've learned the hard way, is that Facebook leads take 3 times longer to close because they're not intent based. They're not intent based. They are disruption marketing. They're flashing in your face and all that stuff. And then, people are sitting on the toilet, they're eating, they're scrolling around, and then they see something and then they give you information. It's not intent based. Versus if you go on Google, people are going, hey, homes in my area, the realtor in my area, this area, sub area in my area. So that tends to do that. Okay. So just be careful with that. Okay. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. So and by the way, if you are have a strong what I call referral business, you are good with your own friends or with your buddies or your own SOI or whatever. I don't think this is a good idea. I honestly don't think it's a good idea because you're gonna really feel like you're eating glass and staring into the abyss. It's a really none of these are not for the faint of heart. They do take a long time to close sometimes. And if you're expecting everybody, because they're going like that's what how it was explained to me in the beginning. Somebody says, "Well, look, there who the hell goes on that Google and then look at stuff? Don't you, go on Google and when you're looking at, best cost of this that you're interested in all that stuff." And yeah, I'm a normal person. Some people, I promise you, there's nothing wrong with buyers, but they're not really have this high intentionality. They're just doing research phase, if you will. They're just doing some research. So they're not as motivated as you think they might be. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so just want to kind of explain that to you. So that's really the minimum. So the first thing I'm going to share with you is, so I'm going to share my screen here because I want to run through the numbers. Okay, I want to run through the numbers here. Okay, so hold on. So this is what nobody will share with you. This is something that I made myself because I don't want anybody to spend $1 unless you actually work through these numbers. Now, this is a very extreme reaction to whatever. So when I started, my website was more, let's say it's $500. I'm more talking about those people that are pitching you $1,500 a month retainers. It's more like that. I don't think you should do that, but there's a reason why I did this. So you have an understanding of what the hell is going on. Now, this you could change this to from PPC management to other expenses. Let's say you have a car. Let's say you have some other stuff. You can use it. If your site provider gives you PPC or some kind of management, it's okay. Like that's great. You should take this out and then just do your own numbers. But basically, what I realize is that let's just say you spend $3,000 a month. This is based on the recent pitch that somebody pitched me. You're spending $3,000 so to get 100 leads. So what I expect out of every 100 leads, I would say 100, that I'm going to close one deal out of it. So leads, okay. I'm going to close one leads out of it. Okay. So my average, and I say the average, what you tend to do in my area, like it's a very expensive area and we have a graduated income thing. It's really weird. So it's not a typical like 3% or 2.5% or whatever. An average is about 8,000. That's what I started out with. But the reality is a little bit higher because again, I learned some new tricks or whatever. But the beginning is say you make $3,000, you have to spend $3,000. Now, believe it or not, the first couple of months, you're not going to make anything. You're not going to make anything. Okay. So imagine you get to month three, and let's say you get paid 8,000 or 9,000 or 10,000. Guess what? You haven't made $1 yet. You don't actually start making money until this month or this month or this month. So before you get going, the first question is, are you able to sustain the runway? Are you able to sustain the runway? Because what I see a lot of people do, like I used to do this before. Before I was a realtor, I did some marketing for mortgage brokers, and one of the things that I got was this guy would come in, he'd spend a couple $1,000, he'd do this for 2 months, and then he would quit because he ran out of money. And then he would be out of nowhere, he started getting some calls, he'll make some money, and then he'll come back, and it was like it was like up and down, up and down, up and down. So it's not an easy gig, if you will. So, but let's just say you sustain yourself and you end up closing. Let's say you do the whole thing for 12 months. Okay. What I expect out of that, if you generated at least 100 leads out of that, what I expect out of that, my friend, is to at least do one lead, close one deal per month. Now, it may not be every single month. Sometimes I used to have zero and then I'd have three here, and then zero and then two here, and then zero and whatever. Okay. And then we'll just say this is how many deals, this is how much total GCI you're going to make per deal, how much is your gross income if this is the only deals you're doing. And then this is how much profit you're going to make because hello, this minus this is the actual profit. Now you have to account for maintaining your license, taxes, all that stuff. But to me, it's a purely if there was a stock market somewhere and they gave somebody $1,000 and they gave me 8,000, I would do that every single day, right? And mind you, if I had the money to pay for that. But that's basically what you're doing. And what some people do, and this is what I highly recommend, is that every once in a while they'll get a referral out of their lead. Now, ideally, you should get a referral from every single person you do deal with every single year. But so I just said, let's say every third person gave you a referral, every fourth person gave you a referral. So you end up with three referrals that didn't cost you anything. So they actually were completely free. So let's look at the math. The math is you grossed $96,000 for the internet leads, right? And the net was 60,000. And then there was on top of it 24,000 from referrals. Now this could come from your internet referrals or other referrals, but you did definitely do that. And then 84,000 was the gross income. Okay. Now minus what do you call it? So that's basically what you ended up making from that whole ordeal. Okay, so you made $84,000. Now, basically, you made 96,000 from internet leads. You made about 24 from this. So that's, and then minus obviously the cost, you end up with this kind of money. Okay. So that's number one. Now I'm going to share with you my numbers. Okay. Let me see what the heck this is. I'm going to share with you my numbers here. Okay. Hold on a second. Let me fuck. Okay, so I just want to double check the math. Sorry, guys. So I want to double check the math. Basically, your net profit out of the whole thing is about $84,000. So you spent 36, you make some money on the internet leads. Hopefully, you get some referrals, and ideally, this is what you should work on. You made 84,000. That's not a bad net profit. Now, mind you, there's a couple of red lights I would kind of practice before you do anything. Is that make sure after 3 months, if you haven't gotten at least three deals, you should stop the internet leads. That's what I had a friend of mine who'd been doing this 100 years. That's kind of what he did. Is he kept going and going and going and going and going, and he actually hadn't made any money. I was like, buddy, you got to stop. You got to freaking stop. Okay. So, got to be careful. After 3 months, if you haven't at least gotten two or three deals in the pipeline or something, you got to stop. You freaking got to stop because you're going to start bleeding, and maybe your personality isn't for that type of business or whatever. So, be careful. So, I would only risk $9,000, and then I would stop and I would examine how many deals you have in the hopper. Maybe you have done deals, or in Canada, like once a deal is they remove subjects or whatever, it becomes a firm deal. It's a real thing. So, it's a real thing. So I'm going to go back into what I did. Okay. These are my numbers for the first year of my business. Okay. So a couple of things. So I actually started out with about $2,000 in PPC, and my expenses were about $4,000. That's when I started. Now there's other expenses or whatever that I'm paying for. So together, I spent about 48,000. Now here, what I did in my first year is My average deal was about 10,000 because I had deals that were 12,000, 15,000, and some that were 7,000. So I averaged about 120. This is just internet leads. And for what I did, and this is something I learned the hard way, is every single person that I did business with, I made sure that I got a referral out of. So because I was like, I want to make this cheap as possible because I thought my cost per lead acquisition was too high. So I wanted to make sure I will reduce that as much as I can. So I remember in my first year, I ended up doing 27 deals. 12 of them came from the internet. 12 of them were referrals. And then I got one out of an open house and two out of cold calling. So I did 27 deals and I made a decent amount of money. So basically, when you take out how much you're going to make plus how much you're going to what do you call it, from referrals, well, 240,000 minus the cost of goods or whatever. And I ended up with just barely 192,000. Okay. This isn't so just to kind of give you some indication here of what I did and whatnot. Okay. So I made about something like that. Again, I don't have all my numbers in front of me. Some of these were higher, some of them were lower, but I'm just giving you even numbers. I 100% got 12 internet leads, and I definitely 100% got 12 referrals. Now, not every person gave me a referral. Let's say two, about five people gave me more than one or two referrals. So I ended up with 12 referrals, but I'm trying to average it out to be so you can make a concerted effort into getting a referral out of every freaking internet lead that you close. Okay. Now, I want to talk a little bit about some stuff that's really important. So, don't ever let somebody, especially if these are not Facebook leads, they're Google leads or whatever, they're what we call high intent lead. Don't ever tell you that people are shit. They're actually human beings and they actually need help, and it's your job to help them. So that's how my mindset was when I was dealing with these people, and I still do. Actually, I just got like a listing out of that. And the commission on it is ridiculous. I don't even want to talk about it. It's a house for 1.7 million. Okay. Or I'll get referrals. Like, one of the things that I did is I remember I had an internet lead that was a listing, and then I actually got a buyer for it, right? And I double ended. This is a long time ago. You can't double end. And then I kept in touch with that buyer. So and then guess what? That buyer ended up selling last year. And I was like, holy crap. The money keeps, the actual income you get from internet leads is like never stopping, but you just unfortunately people have a really poor mentality. And I think also is because they don't have the money to sustain themselves for that long. For me, a little bit of savings, I rolled the dice on it for 3, 4, 5 months and eventually it started going. But I did stop. I won't lie to you. After 3, 4 months of me not seeing any money, I stopped it because I just like, oh man, I can't keep paying for this. And when the money started coming in again, I started it again. But thank God I still had the database and everything. So just be careful with that. So that's what I would recommend is that don't start unless you have enough money. Okay. And make sure you commit to it. Make sure you learn to write scripts, the dialogues, everything. Make sure you follow up enough because sometimes it takes about 8 to 9 calls to actually connect with the person and actually get them to meet with you and all that good stuff. So be careful with all this. It's really important for you to figure out. Okay. If you have any questions about this, reach out to me. I'd love to help you guys out. But really, this is what I would do. I would not start internet leads unless you watch this. Keep in mind that 20% of them are going to be garbage. Only about two will close within 90 days. The rest will close 6 to 8 months, 18 months later. 10% will close 24 months or longer. Average data closes, I would say 8 months, like the average when you look at all of them together, about 8 months. That's what we kind of find. Minimum has to be $8,000. It'd be higher the better, because then you have room for error. Like I'll give you an example. This is a true story. One time I was looking at people's internet leads. One realtor had closed 22 deals out of 1,000 leads. That's 2.2% conversion rate. But keep that in mind. Another guy had given him 10,000, I had given him 1,000 leads and he closed two deals. That means I lost money. Now, mind you, I had kind of not looked at the whole situation properly. And unfortunately, I was like, this is silly, man. What the hell? So, like, this other guy had closed with his friends or family. So I kind of overlooked his shortcomings, but I definitely started giving him less and less leads because it was getting stupidly expensive. Okay, so anyways, guys, I hope this is helpful. Please, please, please comment below. Tell me if this is helpful for you. Reach out to me if you have any questions. Okay, I hope you guys have great luck out there and let me know what you're using out there. Thank you. Bye.